Did I get your attention? I certainly got the camera's focus. So let's go on. I'm continuing my series of challenging myself to recreate the patch of the modular synthesizer setup I used for a live performance back in March. So that actually means 4 months ago. I didn't intend to play the performance more than once, but the experience proves to be interesting and has enough value for me and meaning that I want to have a recording of it, and I want to share the experience, which is also very meaningful to me. So by now, I wasn't exactly certain I would be able to recreate and repatch the sound. But now I can tell you that, yeah, it is recallable. I can recreate the patches and the setup in full, and I get a sound that is very similar to what I got during the performance. The reason why it is recallable is because, first of all, it wasn't a jam. It was a true composition. And as such, it had an arrangement which I took notes of. For a 40-minute long piece, there's quite a few bars to take into account, but it worked. And the notes are sufficient for me. It also had a routing structure, which I took notes of as well. And even a but a tuning system that I also took notes of. So although those scribbles are not really meaningful to someone else, they were sufficient for my own mind. I understand my scribbles. And on top of that, I also used the Pulsar 23's online patcher. And now, for the Pittsburgh Taiga, what I had was a simple blank image of the synthesizer, which I used to draw on top and exactly what I wanted to get as a sound. Now that I am recreating it, fairly 4 months after, I realized that I forgot many things to take notes of on this image in particular, and I will detail them in the overhead shooting of the breakdown. But if you do want to have something that you can share, I highly recommend you to take even better notes and even take pictures of the synthesizer and the setup. Now, before we go ahead and dive in the patching itself, I have a disclaimer. I am by no means an expert in the Pittsburgh Taiga. In fact, I've had it for maybe 6 or 7 months. And the main thing that attracted me to it is the East Coast synthesis features that are inside. And because I'm not as familiar with it, but I'm also a very big fan of those very warm, plucky sounds you can get with a low pass gate, for example. But to this day, I'm still confused about the signal flow in the synthesizer and the relationship between the dynamic section, in which there's the low pass gate, and the envelopes really stumps me. So for the performance, I decided to assign the Pittsburgh Taiga a basic role for a bass synthesizer, a bass sound, a bass patch. So it's very simple, but it sounds great. It has a fantastic sound, even though I'm still confused. Even if I was an expert, it might not help me make beautiful music and meaningful music. Even if there are limitations to my understanding, I still think it sounds fantastic and makes beautiful music, in my opinion. I hope you like it as well. So let's dive into this patch breakdown, and I hope that I'm giving you a bit of some of the fun that I experienced as a human wannabe live performer. Let's go ahead. So here is the patch I used for the Pittsburgh Taiga. Within the modular, I decided it was going to have bass duty. The sequence was almost always just two notes being played, but there was a chord created because I tuned two oscillators to different tones. So I tuned this to, as I mentioned, my piece was in C sharp key. So this is a C sharp, and this I tuned to a G sharp. The third oscillator I decided to use solely as a frequency modulation source. I patched its output to the input of the frequency modulation of the oscillator one. So this is reflected by, in the mixer, the low volume. I didn't need to hear oscillator 3. All I have is channel 1 and 2, oscillators 1 and 2 being played consecutive, being played at the same time. Let's choose simple words. The frequency modulation amount is being selected, being modulated with this knob. There are a couple of things that I forgot to take notes of in a picture, a black and white picture. I'll show that in post-production. I took notes and I drew lines and arrows, but I forgot to color code or to take notes of which oscillator shape I was using. So right after the rehearsals and before the performance, it was fine. I still remembered what I had chosen. But since it's been some time, I realized that I forgot. And so this is an estimation of what I did. Well, not the knob positions. The knob positions were already selected, but it was basically, you can select different shapes. And I think oscillator one was a mix of these two shapes and oscillator this one, too. Then let's see. Oh, right here I have connected an envelope to modulate the filter frequency. I did not do that for the performance as I decided to play with the frequency manually. In hindsight, maybe it wasn't the greatest strategy because I could have been modulating a lot more things than just the filter, but it was fine. Yeah, it sounded the way I wanted it to sound. So I remember that I also used, there's a channel 4 introducing noise. I did not use the noise within the instrument, but did I? Yeah, I think I did because I wanted this a very slowly LFO noise to wash over the sound. And this was modulated by the Pulse 23. But there's something that I should improve on the next time, if there is a next time. I forgot exactly what I patched to it. I think it must have been the Chaos module. And it didn't work during the performance. I didn't have this noisy wash of sound. So I ended up unplugging it during the performance. And now I completely forgot what I did. So unless I tell you, you wouldn't know. But my goal was to have that. But I'm not going to patch it for this. That's pretty much what I did. That's pretty much what I did for the bass patch. So I'll let you have a listen to a little recording I did. And I'll see you next in another video in which I will explain more about the rest of the rack. Okay, take care.